There's a strange truth about people who think deeply. They rarely look intelligent by the world's standards. Their brilliance hides behind silence, behind habits that look strange, behind restraint mistaken for indifference. True intelligence, as the Stoics understood, is not loud. It's disciplined, self-contained, governed by an inner order most people never see. What you're about to hear isn't arrogance, it isn't cleverness. It's the structure of a mind trained to see clearly, feel deeply, and remain unshaken. Here are 7 strange habits that quietly reveal true intelligence. You choose solitude. Overstimulation. Most people are afraid of silence, not because silence is empty, but because silence reveals. The moment noise disappears, distractions fall away, and the screen goes dark, something uncomfortable rises. Unfinished thoughts, unprocessed emotions, questions they've been avoiding. That's why the average mind fills every quiet moment with stimulation. Music in the background, scrolling in between tasks, conversation just to avoid being alone. Stimulation becomes a shield, a way to avoid self-confrontation. But the deeply intelligent mind moves in the opposite direction. It seeks solitude, not because it rejects people, but because it refuses to lose itself inside them. Solitude is not loneliness. It is sovereignty. It is the deliberate act of stepping away from noise so the mind can return to order. Epictetus taught that freedom begins the moment a person desires nothing outside their own reason. That kind of freedom cannot be developed in constant distraction. It requires stillness. In solitude, thought slows down. Emotion becomes visible. Reactions are no longer automatic. You begin to notice patterns, the thoughts that drain you, the emotions that hijack you, the impulses that pull you off course. Most people never reach this level of awareness because they never give their mind the space to speak. They are always reacting, always consuming, always stimulated. The intelligent mind understands something most people never will. Clarity does not come from more information. It comes from less noise. This is why solitude has always been part of serious thinking. Monks, philosophers, strategists, leaders. Marcus Aurelius did not write to impress anyone. He wrote to discipline himself. His journal was not a performance. It was a training ground. Solitude allowed him to confront his own weaknesses without defense, to question his motives without ego, to refine his judgment without interference. That is what solitude does when used correctly. It strips away illusion. When you are alone, there is no audience to perform for, no approval to chase, no identity to protect, only truth. And truth, while uncomfortable at first, is stabilizing. You begin to see where your attention leaks, where your emotions control you, where your habits betray your values. This is not pleasant work, but it is necessary. The intelligent mind does not fear this discomfort. It understands that discomfort is the cost of clarity. Solitude becomes a place of reconstruction. You examine your beliefs. You dismantle borrowed opinions. You rebuild your thinking on principles that actually hold under pressure. This is why people who value solitude often seem calm, not because they feel less, but because they understand themselves better. They are not startled by their own thoughts. They are not overwhelmed by their own emotions. They've already met themselves in silence. If you find peace in being alone, it is not because you are antisocial. It is because your mind has learned how to stand on its own. You are training the most powerful weapon you have, your mind, to function without applause, without validation, without stimulation. And that is rare, because most people can only feel stable when something is happening, when someone is responding, when something is entertaining them. But the mind that can remain composed in stillness will not collapse in chaos. That is the advantage solitude gives you. It builds a mind that does not panic when things slow down, a mind that does not unravel when the noise disappears, a mind that is grounded. And when pressure arrives, because it always does, that grounding becomes strength. This is why solitude is not escape. It is preparation. You question what others accept as normal. Most people live inside systems they never chose, beliefs handed to them by culture, rules passed down without examination, opinions absorbed simply because they were repeated often enough. They mistake familiarity for truth. The deeply intelligent mind cannot do this, not because it wants to rebel, not because it enjoys standing apart, but because it feels a quiet discomfort when something doesn't make sense. When society says, "This is how it's always been done," the intelligent mind asks a different question. Does this actually hold up? This question alone separates thinkers from followers. Most people borrow their worldview the same way they borrow fashion or slang. They wear ideas because they fit in. They repeat beliefs because they sound safe. But the intelligent mind is allergic to unexamined thinking. Seneca wrote that the unconquerable mind is not one that resists pain, but one that refuses to be ruled by habit and conformity. True independence begins when you stop confusing consensus with correctness. Questioning the normal does not mean rejecting everything. It means filtering everything. The intelligent mind listens carefully, but it does not absorb blindly. Every idea must pass through a gate: logic, integrity, and alignment with reality. If it fails, it's discarded. This habit makes intelligent people appear strange. They don't panic when others do. They don't celebrate what everyone else celebrates. They don't rush toward trends simply because they're popular. They remain calm when outrage is expected. They pause when reaction is demanded, not because they lack emotion, but because they refuse to outsource their thinking. This refusal is often misunderstood. People interpret it as arrogance, as detachment, as indifference. But in truth, it is discipline. The intelligent mind understands that mass emotion is volatile. Crowds amplify fear, desire, and anger. And once emotion overtakes reason, manipulation becomes easy. This is why questioning the normal is an act of self-defense. When everyone rushes in one direction, the intelligent mind slows down. It asks what is being sold, who benefits, and what is being ignored. This does not make life easier. It makes it clearer. Clarity has a cost. It means standing alone at times. It means being misunderstood. It means resisting the comfort of agreement. But it also means freedom. Freedom from inherited fear. Freedom from borrowed ambition. Freedom from the pressure to live a life designed by someone else. The intelligent mind does not seek validation through agreement. It seeks alignment with reason. This is why intelligent people are capable of unlearning. They are willing to dismantle beliefs they once held if evidence or reflection proves them false. This takes courage. Most people cling to beliefs because those beliefs protect identity. To question them feels like self-destruction. But the intelligent mind understands that identity built on illusion will collapse under pressure. So it chooses truth, even when truth is uncomfortable. It strips away what the crowd has taught it and rebuilds from first principles. This is how real intelligence forms, not through accumulation of knowledge, but through refinement. And once this habit is ingrained, something changes permanently. You stop reacting to trends. You stop chasing approval. You stop mistaking noise for meaning. You begin to live deliberately. Calm replaces urgency. Direction replaces imitation. And while others drift with the current, you move by design. That is the quiet power of questioning what others accept as normal. You observe more than you speak. In a world obsessed with being heard, the most intelligent people are rarely the loudest. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't compete for airtime. They don't feel threatened by pauses in conversation. They understand something most people never learn. The one who speaks the least often sees the most. Observation is not passivity. It is restraint guided by awareness. The untrained mind speaks to release tension. The disciplined mind watches to gather information. Most people talk because silence makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to face themselves. It removes distraction. It exposes insecurity. So they fill the space with noise. The intelligent mind does the opposite. It uses silence as a tool. Zeno of Citium taught that wisdom begins with listening, because haste belongs to those ruled by impulse. Impulsive people reveal themselves quickly, their triggers, their fears, their ego. They speak before thinking, react before understanding, commit before seeing consequences, and in doing so, they become predictable. Predictability is vulnerability. The observer avoids this trap. They listen not just to words, but to tone, timing, what is said and what is avoided. They notice inconsistencies between speech and behavior. They watch how people act when there is nothing to gain. They pay attention to patterns instead of promises. This quiet observation builds a kind of intelligence that cannot be faked, because truth rarely announces itself loudly. It leaks out slowly through behavior. Most conversations are not about understanding. They are about dominance. People speak to assert identity, to protect ego, to prove worth. The observer does not participate in this exchange, not because they feel superior, but because they see the cost. Every unnecessary word leaks energy. Every emotional reaction gives information away. Every impulsive opinion reduces leverage. So the intelligent mind waits. Silence creates space, and in that space, clarity forms. This habit also builds emotional control. When you observe instead of react, you create distance between stimulus and response. That distance is power. It allows you to choose instead of obey, to respond instead of explode, to remain grounded when others spiral. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people would be difficult, arrogant, ungrateful, and dishonest, but that none of them could harm him unless he allowed his mind to be conquered. Observation is how you prevent that conquest. You begin to see emotional traps before stepping into them. Provocation loses its grip when you refuse to react on cue. Manipulation fails when you don't offer predictable responses. This is why calm people are unsettling. They can't be rushed. They can't be baited easily. They don't give you emotional access. Others sense this intuitively. They may not understand it, but they feel it. A quiet authority, an unspoken control. This presence doesn't come from confidence displays or verbal dominance. It comes from self-regulation. The observer also learns humility. By watching others, you see how easily humans are driven by fear, desire, and pride. You recognize those same impulses within yourself. This creates self-awareness. You stop judging quickly. You stop reacting personally. You stop assuming intent. You become harder to offend because you understand human weakness. And that understanding creates composure. Silence also protects your future. Words spoken impulsively cannot be retrieved. Reputations damaged emotionally take years to repair. The observer avoids these costs. They choose timing carefully. They speak only when words add value or direction. And when they do speak, their words carry weight, because they are rare. This is why people listen when quiet individuals finally speak. Their words feel considered, measured, deliberate, not because they are smarter than everyone, but because they did the work internally first. Observation trains patience. Patience trains judgment. Judgment trains wisdom. And wisdom is the quietest form of intelligence. So if you often find yourself listening more than speaking, pausing when others rush, watching when others perform, understand this. You are not falling behind. You are sharpening perception. You are learning the art of seeing without reacting, understanding without absorbing, and remaining steady in a world addicted to noise. That is not weakness. It is evolution. You govern emotion without killing it. There is a common misunderstanding about mentally strong people. Others think they are cold, detached, emotionless. That assumption is wrong. The truth is more unsettling. Mentally strong people feel deeply. They just refuse to be ruled by what they feel. They understand something most never grasp. Emotion is not the enemy. Loss of control is. Weakness is not feeling anger, sadness, or fear. Weakness is allowing those emotions to dictate behavior. Most people live in reaction. An insult arrives. They explode. Pressure builds. They panic. Discomfort appears. They escape. In those moments, power changes hands. Whoever controls your emotions controls your actions, and whoever controls your actions controls your life. The mentally strong person refuses this surrender. They pause, not because they don't feel, but because they recognize the cost of immediate reaction. That pause creates space, and space creates choice. Stoic discipline begins here. Epictetus taught that events themselves are neutral. It is our judgments that create suffering. This means emotional mastery is not about suppression. It is about interpretation. The undisciplined mind labels everything as personal. Disrespect becomes an attack. Failure becomes identity. Loss becomes catastrophe. The disciplined mind sees differently. It observes emotion without obeying it. Anger becomes information. Fear becomes focus. Sadness becomes signal. But none of them become command. This habit is built through repetition. You feel the surge, and you do nothing. You notice the urge, and you wait. You allow the wave to rise, and you remain standing. Most people cannot tolerate this discomfort. They believe expression equals honesty. They believe venting equals healing. In reality, constant expression reinforces instability. Each uncontrolled outburst strengthens the habit of reaction. Mentally strong people break this cycle. They do not vent to feel better. They regulate to become stronger. This is why their calm unsettles others. You cannot bait them easily. You cannot rush them into mistakes. You cannot provoke predictable reactions. They don't give emotional access. And without access, manipulation collapses. This is not passivity. It is restraint with intent. A controlled fire is useful. An uncontrolled one destroys everything around it. So is emotion. This habit also protects clarity. Strong emotion narrows perception. Anger blinds, fear distorts, excitement exaggerates, calm restores proportion. When you remain composed, you see the long-term consequence. You choose responses that serve direction, not ego. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always have the power to hold no opinion about things. That power, to delay judgment, is the foundation of emotional sovereignty. Mentally strong people practice this daily. They do not ask, "How do I feel right now?" They ask, "What response preserves my dignity?" That question changes everything. They stop reacting to disrespect. They stop defending pride. They stop arguing with chaos. Instead, they maintain posture, and posture communicates strength louder than aggression ever could. This habit also builds internal confidence. When you know you can endure emotion without collapse, fear loses its grip. You trust yourself under pressure. You stop fearing discomfort. You become harder to destabilize. And that stability becomes presence. People feel it, not because you announce it, but because nothing moves you easily. This is what the Stoics meant by inner citadel, a place within that remains unbreached no matter what happens outside. So if you feel deeply, yet remain steady, if you sense emotion, but choose not to act from it, understand this. You are not disconnected. You are disciplined. And discipline is the rarest form of strength. Up to this point, intelligence has been about perception. From here forward, it becomes about protection, discipline, without an audience. Most people only act when someone is watching. They need eyes on them. They need acknowledgement. They need proof that their effort is being noticed. Mentally strong people don't. Their discipline does not depend on applause. It does not weaken in silence, and it does not disappear when no one is paying attention. This is where real strength is built, because who you are in private is who you eventually become in public. Anyone can look composed in front of others. Anyone can speak well, post progress, or perform confidence. But when the room is empty, when there's no praise, no pressure, no validation, most people collapse into inconsistency. Mentally strong people do the opposite. They become more disciplined when no one is watching. They wake up early without announcing it. They train without recording it. They read, reflect, and refine without sharing a single word. Not because they're hiding, but because they understand something most never do. Discipline isn't for display, it's for identity. Every quiet decision compounds. Every unseen repetition rewires the mind. Every private standard raises the floor of who you are. This is how strength becomes permanent. When discipline is external, when it depends on praise, shame, or pressure, it breaks the moment those things disappear. But when discipline is internal, it becomes automatic. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't wait to feel motivated. You don't need to be reminded who you're trying to become. You simply act. This is why mentally strong people feel different to be around. There's no urgency in them, no performance, no need to prove anything. Their confidence isn't loud because it's already settled. They don't rely on bursts of inspiration. They rely on systems. They understand that motivation fluctuates, but standards endure. So they keep their promises to themselves, even the small ones, especially the small ones, because breaking small promises quietly erodes self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of mental strength. This habit is uncomfortable for most people. Silence removes the reward. Privacy removes the ego boost. Consistency exposes whether you're disciplined or just inspired. Mentally strong people pass that test daily. They don't need anyone to know how hard they're working. They only care that the work is done. And when results eventually surface, people call it sudden. But it was never sudden. It was built slowly, quietly, and relentlessly by someone who didn't need to be seen to stay committed. That is discipline without an audience. And once this habit is locked in, your strength stops depending on circumstances. You become reliable, stable, unshakable. They read. People without engaging. Mentally strong people do not need to test others through confrontation. They don't argue to discover intent. They don't challenge people to see who they really are. They watch. Because they understand something most people miss. People always reveal themselves without being questioned, not through what they claim, but through patterns. How someone behaves when nothing is at stake, how they treat people who cannot benefit them, how consistent they are when emotions fluctuate, how they respond when control slips away. Mentally strong people don't rush to engage because engagement contaminates data. The moment you react emotionally, you change the environment. The moment you confront, people perform, they mask, they defend, they adjust. So the intelligent mind stays neutral. It lets behavior run uninterrupted. Words are cheap, behavior is expensive, and pressure always reveals what words try to hide. This is why mentally strong people don't ask many questions. They don't need to. They observe who keeps their word when it costs them, who changes when power dynamics shift, who remains stable, and who fractures under stress. They understand that character is not proven in comfort. It's exposed in friction. This habit makes them seem distant to others, not because they lack warmth, but because they don't offer emotional access before understanding intent. They don't overinvest early. They don't reveal plans prematurely. They don't assume goodwill without evidence. This isn't paranoia, it's calibration, because once you engage emotionally, leverage shifts. Once you react, information flows outward instead of inward. And mentally strong people prefer clarity over connection. This is also why they are hard to manipulate. Guilt doesn't work because they see the pattern. Pressure doesn't work because they recognize the tactic. Charm doesn't work because it's evaluated, not absorbed. They don't need to accuse. They don't need to expose. They don't need to explain. They already know. And when action is finally required, it's precise, measured, decisive, no drama, no surprise, just distance or boundaries applied cleanly. This habit protects energy, time, and direction, because mentally strong people understand this truth. The goal is not to confront everyone. The goal is to understand who deserves access. And once you master that distinction, your life becomes quieter, not because there's less happening, but because fewer people are allowed close enough to disturb it. That is the power. They let go of what isn't theirs to carry. Mentally, strong people do not carry unnecessary weight. They don't drag old arguments into new days. They don't replay insults long after the moment has passed. They don't internalize other people's anger, insecurity, or disappointment. Because they understand a hard truth most people avoid. Not everything that touches you deserves to stay with you. Weak minds collect emotional debt. They replay conversations. They rehearse comebacks. They relive disrespect. And slowly, without realizing it, they give their peace to moments that are already over. Mentally strong people refuse that transaction. They feel the emotion, but they don't attach identity to it. Anger is information, not a command. Sadness is a signal, not a sentence. Disappointment is feedback, not a verdict. They acknowledge what happened, extract the lesson, and then they release the rest. This is not denial, it is discipline. Holding on to emotional weight does not make you loyal, deep, or principled. It makes you heavy, and heavy people move slowly. Stoicism teaches that suffering multiplies when we cling to what we cannot control. Other people's behavior is not yours to carry. Their opinions are not yours to manage. Their failures are not yours to fix. Mentally strong people draw a clean line. What is mine to improve, and what is not mine to absorb? That line protects their energy. They forgive, not to excuse behavior, but to free themselves from it. Forgiveness, for them, is not emotional softness. It is strategic release. Because resentment ties you to the very thing you want distance from. And mentally strong people value freedom more than vindication. They don't need closure conversations. They don't need apologies to move forward. They don't need validation to let go. They understand that peace doesn't come from adding explanations. It comes from subtracting attachment. This habit is quiet, but powerful. It's why mentally strong people recover faster, why they don't spiral, why they don't carry bitterness into new rooms. They travel light. And when you travel light, you move faster, think clearer, and adapt quicker. This is also why mentally strong people are hard to manipulate. You can't guilt them easily. You can't bait them emotionally. You can't control them through pressure or shame, because they don't cling. They let go. They accept what is, act on what they can, and release the rest without drama. That doesn't make them cold. It makes them free. And freedom is the foundation of every other habit you've heard today. When you stop carrying what isn't yours, you regain focus, you regain clarity, you regain power. And power, when it's quiet and disciplined, becomes unshakable. At some point, something changes. Not suddenly, not dramatically, quietly. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop needing the world to understand you. And that's when strength becomes real. Because strength was never about being loud. It was never about being seen. It was never about winning arguments or collecting approval. It was about control. Control over your reactions. Control over your attention. Control over what you carry and what you release. Most people live exposed, every emotion on display, every thought spoken, every trigger answered. You chose differently. You learned to pause instead of react, to walk away instead of perform, to stay silent instead of explain, to protect your inner world instead of advertising it. That choice changes everything. From this point forward, you move with weight. Your presence speaks before your words do. Your calm unsettles people who thrive on chaos. Your restraint removes their leverage. You don't need to announce growth. You don't need to prove discipline. You don't need permission to become dangerous. You already are. Because danger isn't noise. It's consistency. It's composure. It's the quiet refusal to be pulled off center. Carry these habits into your daily life, not as motivation, as standards. Let them shape how you respond, how you walk away, how you speak, and when you don't. That's how this mindset survives pressure. That's how it compounds over time. That's how it becomes permanent. This is NexusMind, where silence is sharpened into strength, where discipline replaces chaos, where mental power is built quietly and cannot be taken. If this spoke to you, don't announce it. Mark it, carry it, stay unshakable.